Look at this badass trio of skis I got my hands on. Thanks Jed, Chugach Jedi, for the lenders of the top two there. And then my other buddy Kevin got me those the X106s there at the bottom. So the first one, so I guess, and I'm not real clear on the whole evolution of this series, if they're all exactly related. I mean, they all say Legend Pro. The dimensions shift around. The ones were 188, and the middle ones were 194, and then the X106s were 188 again. They're all slightly different length, but here we are, first run on these things. So we had some dust on crust conditions, so unsure exactly what was going on under here. It's kind of powdery. You can definitely feel the bottom. These skis, immediate impression, they're fairly buttery. Like they would come around off of edge, you know, like I say, like breaking off edge or not. It felt alright. I was like, oh, I like these things. So what I did is I skied top to bottom of the car and shifted run for run. I did 3 of these runs on 3 different skis. These guys are a bit longer, and they've been tuned. They're pretty sharp edges. They definitely tracked a little bit less forgiving. I had to ride them a bit harder. They weren't nearly as pleasant as the first ones. And then these guys, it's like Goldilocks, because these guys are buttery and edgeable. If I were to make finite distinctions. And of course, you know, it's hard to set up all the variables. This is my 3rd lap on the 3rd set, so I know what the snow's doing. This is my 1st lap, so I'm still like, oh, okay, what did they bring? But these things are fun. I'm like cruising, you know, you're definitely skipping off the bottom. And first turn is following into south face. Oh, there goes my wife. Kids are in school now, so she can ski every day. Bombing down my favorite run. I like the chest cam there. Look at all this snow flying up. It gives an indication of the conditions, I guess. And I noticed this difference. The snow was flying up more or less ski for ski. So these guys, I'm like, so I'm riding them. I'm definitely riding them gingerly. Like, I don't want to just let them start running like crazy, because it is kind of variable conditions, but they feel good enough. So yeah, this is like 20-minute difference from the first run to the second run, and I literally skied straight to the truck, pulled out the pair, got on the lift, back to the top, did another one, did that 3 times in a row. Trying to get as close as possible in the same conditions. And then back to these guys. And again, I already knew these skis could shred hard on the hard pack. And B, this is my 3rd lap of the day, technically. So I am going a hair faster, a little more confident on what the snow brings. But it is seriously like Goldilocks. It's kind of funny. The first pair is buttery, felt good. Second pair is more long, less forgiving. And then these guys are this nice balance. There's definitely less snow flying in my face here, even though it's exact same snow, because I'm going faster. I think it's more skimming than pushing. Ooh, look at these nice turns. This is on groomer. Look at that, it's like 6 inches on groomer. That was pleasant. I got fresh tracks down the whole thing. Second tracks down is all tracked out now, but these things rip. If I skied them more, I definitely could figure them out, I think. Unlike those goddamn Seth Morrisons. These turns down here were super pleasant. This is beauty of Girdwood when it snows to the valley. This is rare. Look at pow. Right to the valley floor. Those are probably the best turns of the day for overall actual enjoyment. So, back on these guys. I didn't ski the bottom that way. I was like, oh look, the knuckles are open. I should probably do a run in there. It's like I should probably go in there and see what these guys will do over there. So it is steep as shit. Again, you could fall down the thing. You don't want to. People have died right here, and massively injured themselves. But all that fluffy pow is pushed off. So I'm looking, and it's interesting because the snow is different. Like, it looks like a white sheet of snow. But as we get going here, every bit of it was like turn for turn was different. And there's a bunch of cliffs down underneath me here, and yeah, it was an interesting run. So I'm jimmying in through this super steep section, and I could keep turning wicked steep turns. And right here I'm like, ooh, man, this is freaking steep. And I look down to my left, I could keep going down that way through that chute. I didn't want to turn anymore at this point. It was like unpleasantly steep and hard. And I could have kept going down to the left. And I'm standing here and the judges are like, my fluidity points are going through the floor right now. I could have kept side slipping down through that thing, maybe a gaper turn. But I decided to juke over the side, around through these rocks. And then this is how just the snow changes. As I come over this corner, there's all this untracked snow, and now I'm scared for a microsecond because you don't know what this snow is because it hasn't been sloughed away, and it could have been rocks, it could have been anything. But then I'm back onto the ice. And when this runs full speed with audio, you can hear all the scraping around. So the gist of it is the upper stuff all sloughed off, and then the high spots, the ridges were all fairly hard. And then it got down here and it all kind of piled up, and all of a sudden there was these super deep spots. And there was such light fluffy snow that it wasn't, it was like pow in itself. It was like all the slough debris. And it was interesting as well, the way my green jacket was poking over. Like right there, you see the top of my jacket. You know, it's cool to see your positioning, but I've seen the green jacket, you know, because I was basically squatting, and it's like almost a defensive maneuver to be in a more of a power squat position. Like your skis are driving, but you kind of set, you know, you're kind of like, not necessarily throwing turn, you know, you're kind of sitting in between turns, not resting, kind of analyzing what your next turn is going to be. But I find myself doing that, like, in real danger, just like almost power squatting. And you're seeing it there with the jacket. But you get down into these sections that hadn't been sloughed off and hadn't been repiled, and now you're in the natural snow that had just fallen, and it was basically dust on crust. As we get down here to the bottom, but then there's these big pileups. So it was very variable. Turn for turn, you're like, oh, what's the next? What's going on? But it was fun. It's like pow to me.
Whew, steep, eh?
I want to get a video. I need to get the cam up on my actual helmet one of these days, because it just shows the way your head turns. You know, I always think of the steepness. The steeper the terrain, the more horsepower you have at your disposal, basically.
Oh God.
So the more edging is required to counter that horsepower, i.e. gravity. And the steeper it is, obviously the more pull gravity has on you. But when you are looking, you know, the face as steep as it could be, your head is turned so that your line of sight is parallel to the steepness. So you're navigating a flat slope essentially, but you're treating it as if you have more horsepower, if that makes sense. The pull is stronger. I know it sounds redundant, but it matters the way your head is articulated to be parallel to the ground. Like that. And this very lower bit is now dust on crust, but you get into this Avi field where there's old Avi debris under the surface, and you see these chunks. They're like deadheads, like, oh god, don't hit that thing. And they're all over the place, and you get into these piles of them. So you kind of just gotta watch out. And this is the spot where you're tempted, you're getting tired, and you want to open it up, and you gotta remain vigilant. Well, that was a heck of a good ski day. Thanks for watching. Got more ski reviews coming down the pipe.